Andy Secor here from Make Shots Basketball Training with our fourth installment on different shooting elements I analyze when I first watch a player begin their shot. So today we're really going to talk about kind of how the shooting process is simplified during Make Shots into three parts. The first part being when the player catches the ball and how their hands connect to the ball, how their feet connect to the ground, that being the one spot. The two spot, where the ball moves through the tunnel to where the elbow and wrist are under the ball. And then the three spot is really the release and the motion at the end of the shot. So our focus today is going to be on the two spot and why it's so important. The two big reasons being arc and accuracy. And we're going to start with a little bit of looking at Theron Halleck's shot from Forest Hill Central and NBA, so we can kind of illustrate those. And then we'll also look at a couple videos. Now we know that the optimal angle for a shot to travel is around 45 degrees. So the closer the shot gets to 45 degrees, the more the basketball can see the hoop. I remember hearing John Beeline talk about shooting at a clinic one time, and he referenced the elbow finishing above the eye line as a great reference point for a player to self-assess whether or not they're creating enough arc. So to promote that, you really need this up motion and not an out motion. Being under the ball and not behind the ball being very critical in the two spots. So here we can see Theron right here. You can see how her hand is actually behind the basketball. So when she shoots this shot, the elbow is going to move this way and the ball is going to move on this trajectory, I would guess 38 to 40 degrees. You can see the big difference in this shot. You can see the elbow under the ball, that wrist flip really back to flat versus being behind the ball. And so that's so important because it ensures two things. First, proper arc angle. And then the second thing is accuracy. The angle of this shooting arm here being in this angle versus on this angle gives us a good indication of where the right hand is going to finish at release. And where that right hand finishes at release, if it's on line, gives us a good indicator of whether the shot's going to go in or not. So just a good example here of being behind the ball versus being under the ball. This is a shot that's probably going to produce 35 to 45 degrees of arc. This is a shot that's probably going to produce 43 to 48 degrees of arc. So under in the two spot and not behind in the two spot. So let's look at a couple examples of this. Here's Brooke Toigo from Forest Hills Eastern. You can see when she flips, so let's kind of go back. This is the one spot for her. So where she caught the ball, that's her one spot. She moves the ball through the shooting tunnel up to where her two spot is, which is right there. You can see her elbow is directly under the ball. You can see that that hand is getting flat, right wrist is getting flat, where she's completely behind, or she's under the ball and not behind it, which prompts a lifting motion to where her elbow finishes above her eye line and she has enough arc. Another good example of being under and not behind, here's Aiden Zank. It's a sophomore in Hudsonville. On this catch, you can see there is him moving from the one spot to the two spot. And then there you can see at two how he finds himself under right here. So his right hand right here is directly under the ball. How can we tell? Look at the high spot he finishes in with his two hands. That's going to produce 45 degrees of arc or more. So he moves from that one spot to the two spot to where he is completely under and not behind, and then finishes on that line right there. So there's Brooke and Aiden, a couple examples of getting under. Here's Xavier Sullivan, a seventh grader from Hudsonville. And one of the things I work with kids on is trying to make sure they don't get too far on top of the ball. Why is that? Because if you catch on top, it's hard to rotate all the way back here to flat. So Xavier starts a little bit on top. This is something that Xavier and I worked on that he's much better at. This is from quite a long time ago, where you can see because he starts so far on top, he never really gets under. See how he's behind with this right hand? You'll see that behind with a lot of younger players because they feel like it produces more power. So you can see he never really gets to under. He stays behind the ball almost the whole time. and then that elbow finishes at about chin height instead of remembering what it finished to like there when Aiden shot. So there's an example of hand more behind the ball instead of under, making it hard to get to 45 degrees. Here's Nate Bengston, sophomore at North Point Christian. Really good shooter, especially for a big. He's been working hard on his game. You see one of the challenges for Nate too is here he is, kind of we go slow-mo here. Here he is at the 1 spot. That's where he likes to pocket and catch. So as he moves the ball through the shooting tunnel to the 2 spot, see how he's still behind. You don't see any wrist wrinkles. You see wrist wrinkles when that wrist gets flat and gets behind. He looks like he almost gets there right here. He's about to flatten that out. He never quite gets there. And what's a good indication that he didn't get there? Look how when this finish happens, see how this hand is really flat. And he didn't lock out that wrist with the, like it would be more of like a J on top. So you can see he finished straight forward. And that's because we never completely got under in the 2 spot. He was always that hand a little bit behind the ball. So in summary, the keys here are at that 2 spot, get that shooting hand and elbow being under the ball to ensure you have that proper arc and accuracy. That shooting hand gets you into alignment towards the rim as the shot moves to the 3 spot, and then ultimately the finish. So that wraps us up for today as we worked on our list here overall. Our 4th video on shooting hand elbow position. Be back next time to talk about the impact of the guide hand on your shot.